Good morning from the United States Sports Academy campus in Daphne, Alabama. I'm Dr. Arthur Ogden, your moderator for Sports Talk. And every Wednesday morning at this time, we engage current activities in sport with some of our faculty and some of our staff who have some interest and expertise in the field. This morning, our panel consists of Dr. Steve Butler, who is the Dean of Academic Affairs, and Dr. Tim Foley, who is our Dean of Student Services. The FIFA effect on the USA. We're going to talk about that. Everybody seems to have soccer fever in the United States. But even before the USA's victory over Ghana Sunday, by the way, there were 16 million viewers on the two networks that carried it. Even before that, soccer in the United States has seen a rise. And one of the things, of course, that's gaining attention not only is the tremendous support that our team is receiving in terms of U.S. fans being in Brazil. It's reported there were 20,000 U.S. fans at Natal Sunday night when we defeated Ghana 2-1. Great comeback win. But the German-born coach for the USA team, Jurgen Klinsmann, has had some very interesting things to say. And in an article in this week's Time magazine called Stars, Stripes, and Soccer, he talks about the influence of the American work ethic, the American blue-collar ethic, being applied to FIFA and his team. For those of you that don't know, this team of U.S. players is comprised of many German-born American players whose fathers were in the military. They married German wives, and their sons played there. We'll talk a little bit more about the German system of developing players in a minute. But first, we want to take a look at this. It's not necessarily a phenomenon. It is something that's been long, long overdue. Today in the U.S., there are more high schools, middle schools, and recreation leagues sponsoring soccer. In the rest of the world, it's known as football, than any time in the past 25 years. The USA coach Jurgen Klinsmann, I mentioned before, has made a distinction between the ways in which American players are developed and the ways in which European and of course his homeland of Germany, which they're developed. In Germany, when they have youngsters who show great promise, they're moved quickly through the ranks of the leagues into semi-professional and professional leagues, completely bypassing college. And he makes the point, I saw this on an interview on TV, he said in America, when we get those talented players, what they're doing is they're hoping to get a scholarship to Division I schools. That somewhat holds back their progress. But that's just a difference in the approaches, and we can talk about the validity of that later on. So we want to take a look at what are the long-term effects. Aside from the great national pride, there may be some very positive approaches being taken to advance soccer in the USA. So we have to ask a couple of quick questions first. My question is, something similar to this happened in 1980 with the Miracle on Ice when the USA hockey team defeated Russia. Did that spark more interest in hockey in the U.S.? Tim, what do you think? I mean, in terms of participation.
I don't know the numbers being from a warm weather area.
Right.
I can't speak to that. And it's funny I say that now that the Kings won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
But, you know, one of the things I really enjoy about the soccer, the World Cup, is that I watched the game at a bar/eatery, and instead of, you know, you have Auburn and Alabama fans, everyone, it was for the USA, and I think it does bring people together. I think it's slowly growing. Again, in America, we have, you know, the big three sports, and they're so specific. I think it's got a way to go.
One of the things that I think is true about soccer in America, as far as our attention span goes, is it's much like our what we think about the Olympics. We get excited about soccer every 4 years when the World Cup rolls around. You know, in the mid '70s, we with the advent of the North American Soccer League, they thought that when they brought Pele and Giorgio Canaglia and Franz Beckenbauer, who were 3 of the top 5 players in the world at that time, when they brought them all to New York to play for the Cosmos and travel around the country and play, they thought that would be the impetus to spark soccer in the United States. And it did temporarily, but then as soon as those guys retired, it kind of faded away. You know, we had the women win the World Cup in '98 or '99.
Mia Hamm.
'99. Yeah. Mia Hamm was the star of the team, and Brandy Chastain scored the goal and took her shirt off. And everybody, you know, I was in China last month, and everybody still talks about that game because China was on the losing end. Right. They still talk about that as one of the greatest games in Chinese football history, even though they lost 1-0 in the shootout. So I think, you know, I hope I'm wrong because I love soccer. But I think it's going to be tough. Like you said, the number of kids playing soccer today is grown exponentially since 1970s. But you know, there's been 3 women's pro leagues and they've all failed. Right. The men's pro league right now, I think they finally took the right approach. Instead of playing in the big football stadiums, they're kind of building soccer stadiums that hold 28,000 people, and 28,000 people in a stadium that hosts 28,000 people looks really good on television, where 28,000 people in the Los Angeles Coliseum didn't look really good on television. So I think the men's league is on solid ground. I'm not sure about the new women's league. Like I said, this is the 3rd women's league they've tried. So we'll see. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I think soccer will always be kind of an afterthought in the United States, except for that 1 month each 4 years when the World Cup rolls around.
Yeah, and it could be, but you know, who knows? We know that ESPN is pouring tremendous amounts of money into their broadcasts worldwide, and they're treating it very similar to, in the promotion, very similar to the Super Bowl or the BCS Championship. And I noticed yesterday on Twitter, Feinbaum had tweeted that watching the Mexico-Brazil match, which apparently was unbelievable. Ochoa, the Mexican goalie, was just unbelievable. And he went to a 0-0 draw. Feinbaum said, I thought for a minute I was watching the Alabama-Auburn game with the intensity. He says the intensity was really, really there. And we see this intensity. We're this part of the country is SEC territory, no doubt, and we are very provincial and territorial and proud of all the accomplishments. But when you take something to the next level, a world level, I mean truly a world level, with national implications, international implications, that means something a little bit more. We talked a minute ago about Mia Hamm and the tremendous impact she had on women's soccer. And I don't know if the women's soccer leagues have not been successful as a function of gender preference or gender bias. You know, we some people in this country don't like to watch women's sports. You take the WNBA, they're doing well, but the NBA is subsidizing that tremendously. But it's still good sport. And I know that in the high schools, soccer developed early on as a sport for the girls in many instances. And the state where we're from, down in Florida, they play soccer not opposite football. They play soccer in the wintertime, opposite basketball. Right. So it makes a difference. And when we take a look at these kinds of things, I'm wondering if you guys think that perhaps the dropping, you mentioned Landon Donovan, was the rock star for American soccer, when he was left off, did that leave a dent for any of our youngsters? Do you think?
I think the coach, Dr. Butler, will probably talk about this. I don't think so. I don't think. And again, I think if you compare Landon Donovan you can't compare him to a LeBron James, so to speak. But
I think Klinsmann had some bad luck when Josie Altidore got hurt. As soon as Josie Altidore got hurt, a lot of people were saying, "Boy, I wish we had Landon Donovan put up there," because and I think getting back to what you just said a couple minutes ago, Dr. Ogden, about the women, I think in this country right now, I think there are a lot more universities that have women's soccer than have men's soccer.
Oh,
Oh yeah. I was talking about the high school level.
Right.
You're right.
Look at the
You're
SEC,
right.
for example. I think there's only two colleges in the SEC that have men's soccer, but
Right.
they all have women's soccer.
That's true.
You know, going back to I think we're all three from the big three recruiting states. You look at California, Texas, and Florida, which are all good baseball, warm weather. These athletes can play soccer the whole year.
Yeah, year round, and they do. I
They
mean,
do.
Dan, I know that where you're from, Fort Lauderdale, and I'm from Miami and Naples. They're playing. Their leagues are playing year round.
There's a complex in Auburn for youth soccer that has 11 fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing of it is, though, even down there in South Florida, come football season,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's football
It's
season.
football.
There's no doubt. Now, the influence of a lot of the Haitian immigrants that we've had has made a difference. But what I saw, and I left Naples in 1995, was more of an assimilation of those scat backs. I mean, those Haitian kids with some great speed, not only going into track, but the football coaches watching them, their speed in track and say, hey, how would you like to come be a wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of guys in soccer had the speed to be really tremendous strikers.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a world of difference. So this whole melting pot and rubbing elbows with different kinds of things. And I must add, I'm very, very proud of what ESPN has done. We don't get any extra payment from ESPN for making this statement. I'm really, really proud of what ESPN has done in promoting the FIFA World Cup this way. Not only do they have the contract, but they really are generating a great deal of interest.
One thing really interesting they did is I think I filled out the first bracket in my life that was not associated with the NCAA men's basketball tournament. It was actually a FIFA World Cup bracket. So,
You know, you mentioned 16 million people watched the USA game on Sunday. I think ESPN it was kind of a perfect storm because the NASCAR race was over.
Right.
It was like before the basketball game started, and the U.S. Open, Martin Kaymer was ahead by 8 strokes. So people who normally would have been watching the U.S. Open just went. I know. I flicked on the U.S. Open one time for like 20 seconds, saw he had an 8-stroke lead, and I was back
Turned
to the
off.
soccer
Yeah.
for the duration. But I think those are the kind of things, having those 16 million people watch the game and the kind of game it was. I think it was even better the way that game came out than if we had won 4-0. I think that because we were ahead we scored with 24 seconds into the game. We were ahead for 80 minutes. Then it seemed like for all the world that we either going to be a tie. I mean, even the announcer said at one point that the U.S. would be happy right now to walk off the field with the tie because it looked like for the whole world that Ghana was going to score again, and then to come back and win the game like we did, I think was the kind of thing that hopefully can spark interest going forward. And but at the same time, if we lose 5-0 to Portugal on Monday, or Sunday,
that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
We're going to beat Portugal because Portugal is missing. Who they're missing?
Pepe.
And it's all going to be Ronaldo.
And they have
I think Ronaldo is
one of their best midfielders also out with an injury. So the opportunity's there for us. We just need to take advantage of it.
We have to take advantage of that blue collar work ethic that
Klinsman's
talking about. Well, it's that time again. We want to thank you for joining us for Sport Talk here at the United States Sports Academy. Get excited because our team's doing really well, and we need to get behind them. I don't know if any of you saw some of the reports, video and audio reports around the world, U.S. military bases and various watering holes throughout major metropolitan areas, but the people were really, really excited. A lot of American flags, a lot of people painted red, white, and blue, and really, really getting on the bandwagon. So,
and they did say the other day on TV that other than Brazil, United States, people in the United States bought the second most tickets to the World Cup games.
Awesome.
Only behind Brazil.
Yeah, and that's a testament of where we are, I think. Yeah, I can get one. That's great. I'd like to remind you that any of you have some ideas on how we want to go with the direction of examinations of some of these sport issues, please send us an email at sportstalk@usssa.edu, sportstalk@usssa.edu. Thanks very much, and have a great day in sport.